This Opuntia I've had for about a year and a half, almost 2 years, and I have been so impressed with the growth on it. So I want to show you how quickly these new petals grow once they start. So if you look over here, you can see a tiny little new petal that is starting to grow. So this thing is actually like a day or two old. It just barely popped up. But I've been getting a lot of new growth on this over the last few days, well, few weeks, I guess, and it is crazy. So these petals right here, these are 20 and 25 days old. So they went from this little thing to that in just about 25 days. Now, you'll notice that some of these are very misshapen, and you can see how you can see like the veins in here. So you can see every like little piece of the inside, and there's a bunch of really misshapenness. So this is actually, I want to say it was 30 days old. So it's really not that old. This one's about 2 weeks, and it's just exploded with new growth. But again, there's a lot of it that's really awkward. So we've been growing this because our tortoise can eat it. And so I'm trying to just let it grow as much as it can. But the reason for the misshapen growth is because it hasn't had enough water. So this is in the spring, although it is getting into the 90s here right now. So it's still crazy hot. But what needs to happen is I need to water it more frequently. The challenge is this thing is really full and plump. And so I've been hesitant to water more because I don't want the base to rot out. But because it's putting off all this new growth, I can water it more frequently. So right now it's actually been about once a week, which feels like a lot for this cactus because it's so big. But this is a really good example of you have to modify your watering schedule for the plant based on its needs. So the fact that I can see some new growth coming on here, that these new petals are growing in, is a sign that I do need to water it a little bit more frequently so that it can really store up all that water for the really hot season. And all this misshapenness, this will not right itself out. You can see there's kind of a weird shaped one here. When I got this, it just had 4 petals. I believe it had 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so it has doubled, tripled, quadrupled, however many extra that is, just in the last year and a half. So these things can grow really quickly, and you can also propagate them just from a paddle. So I want to show you one other one. Now, this isn't the most attractive setup, but we had this paddle that came off, and so I went ahead and planted it in the ground. I guess there's actually 2 of them. So both of these, this one was from, the one in the back was from a neighbor, and then this one was just one that we had taken off our own plant. It had kind of fallen off anyway. So you can see it's cracked and damaged, and has a lot of issues with it, and yet it is still growing. So again, this paddle right here, it just started growing 30 days ago, and then this one is about 15 to 20 days old. I can't remember exactly on it, but also not very old, and it just started as that little nub like you saw on the other cactus. So this is a perfect way to propagate, is just remove one of these petals, stick it in some soil, and then water it every few days until it roots, and then eventually it will start putting off new petals. Now, it's not 100%. For whatever reason, this one in the back has not taken root. It hasn't propagated or put off new petals, so I'm going to give it a little bit longer, but then I will probably, we'll probably just feed it to, clean it off and feed it to the tortoise. But it's really, really simple, and these things can multiply really quickly. So if you have an Opuntia or you have a neighbor with an Opuntia, just go ask them if you can have a paddle and propagate them for yourself.